It's these two guys. These two guys. It's these two guys.
I am Larry Richardson.
And I'm George Henry.
We're these two guys.
Yes, we are, and back for another episode here. And one of the things I want to talk about before we get into whatever our topics are going to be today, which are not few and far between. They're very wide open, as a matter of fact. But I told Larry the other day I had this idea for a beverage, and it's these two guys Power Blast energy drink.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that to come in.
And it has been ordered, and it is in development, and in the next 4 to 5 weeks we should have some for everybody.
Now, are we planning on putting this on our store?
Well, we'd have to ship it in 4-packs or something like that, to see. But we could make it available on the store, and that we could just ship it to people. And we're going to do it at a very low price as far as cost goes to us, because we want to get it out there and see if people are interested in it. So.
Yeah, who knows? You might even see it in your Safeway aisles and stuff at some point.
Well, I'm hoping that Brian Bernard over at Grocery Outlet might put it in, or maybe our American markets here.
Yeah.
They might be willing to do that. I don't know.
Some of them deal with a lot of local farmers and stuff like that. So I can see that being a thing.
And we'll see. Maybe so. But anyway, episode 29 is this one here, and we just can't get off the political stuff that's going on here. And first, before we get into one of the other topics, I wanted to mention that, this week they announced that they're pulling out of Minneapolis. Yeah. They're pulling out of Minnesota and cutting back on there. The guy in charge there says it was a success, and I think they arrested, around 3,000 people?
4,000 people.
4,000 people.
And they found 3,000 kids. Of those 3,654, I think it is, of lost children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lost children that are immigrants or lost
immigrants
children?
and everything. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So. Now, albeit, according to the information I read today, about 5% of the ones that are currently detained have had a violent criminal conviction.
Right.
Not that they're not. I mean, they're still illegals. They still had many of them had convictions of minor offenses.
Right.
But about 5% of those were violent criminals. So that's 5% off the ground that didn't used to be there. Unfortunately, it came at some cost. But what can you say about that?
I mean, but we see how smooth the transition went after the collaboration started.
Yeah.
Right. So, and if it had been that way from the beginning, I think it would have been a lot.
Well, and I think that had they put the immigration czar in there to begin with, someone who worked under Biden, worked under Trump, had a good head on his shoulders. I think Obama too. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been a little calmer to begin with.
Yeah.
I think it would have. But I think it was the defensiveness that what's his name again?
Bonino, yeah, something like that, yeah.
I think it was the defensiveness that he took and the immediate call to justice, or not call to justice, but immediate, we know what this was. We know what happened, with
he's a pretty cutthroat type of guy, too. I mean, with the pictures of him with those long coats, it kind of did look a little Gestapo-ish when I saw that. But apparently that's just part of their uniform because the other people have the same coat.
Either that or the OK Corral.
Yeah.
One or the other.
It was like a quarter coat, right? It's like a desperado type. Yeah. It was a really weird looking outfit.
Yeah. But, and again, we definitely need to get violent criminals off the street. No doubt about it. So hopefully wherever they go next, and they will be going somewhere next.
Oh, yeah.
They will learn from this, and it'll be a little bit more judicial in the process. So recently, I was watching some of this testimony, and to be honest with you, I have to be totally honest with you, I didn't really watch any of Bondi's response. I only read about her responses. So I only watched the grilling that she was given by the Congress there. And I got to say, they showed no mercy whatsoever.
They did not.
Whatsoever.
I watched a lot of it. I didn't watch the whole entire thing. I watched a lot of it. And it was definitely it was not a bipartisan grilling or hearing whatsoever. I mean,
no, you mainly heard from
them.
the Democrats, siding with that. Yeah.
Well, the Republicans were giving her, their time to speak and responds to things that the Democrats, because like Jasmine Crockett got up there and she spent her entire time just talking to her. She didn't actually ask any questions. It was basically just it was a soapbox thing.
Let me address the survivors, because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on. And frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job.
So it was a soapbox. It was a one-sided conversation they were having. They didn't get up there to ask questions or anything. A lot of them got there just to kind of do a soapbox thing. And a lot of the Republicans gave Pam Bondi their time so she can respond. And a lot of her responses wasn't really on the subject or the questions. It was whataboutisms. Yeah. A lot of whataboutisms with her responses.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions, because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas. From Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted. So what are we talking about? Convict Texas, some of these perpetrators homicide. That rape these women that are sitting behind you, that you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds back to make up for the yelling? Thank you. General, did you have anything further to say?
Texas, convicted of homicide. Cecil Joseph from Dominican Republic. Texas, convicted for kidnapping, rape. Khalid Khan from Afghanistan. That's why they want to talk about Epstein and not what's happening in their own states.
One of the things that I've seen, like I've been watching Sean Ryan, been watching Bill Maher, been watching all these different podcasters, all these different TV shows and that, and they all seem to say the same thing, is that when people in politics, and we're not talking about Republican or Democrat, when people in politics in general are asked a straightforward question, they very rarely give a straightforward answer.
Yes. Yeah. You'll never get a closed-ended question is a closed-ended question. Did you do this? Yes or no. It only requires a yes or no answer. And it's this whole diatribe about something else completely just dancing around that.
But, and I don't mind if someone says yes and or yes but.
But you never get the.
But you never get the yes. No. Because there's a lot of times, and I've watched enough court TV to know that, when they sit there and say, you're only supposed to answer yes or no, there are extenuating circumstances in a lot of stuff.
Right.
So if you're willing to say yes or you're willing to say no, you should be allowed to give the reason why you're saying yes or no. In my opinion.
Or certain things. It's still under certain investigations, so I can't speak to that. Something. Right. But something that's
but that's also a go-to cover.
Yeah.
Well, we're investigating that. I can't talk about it right now. And then, you know what? I'll never talk about it again.
And one thing I don't understand is I don't even know why you even have these, because what's the outcome?
What is the point?
What is the point? Other than just, I think it's just political theater in a lot of ways.
And Gutfeld on Fox would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
He says it's political theater.
Yeah.
And not jumping on his side or defending his side. He's right. It is all theater. We are not getting.
Nobody's
the American
going to jail.
public is not getting justice or not getting the truth out of these people.
No.
Both sides.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%.
Point blank.
It's sad because I have more of a conservative than a liberal view, which most of you guys will know that. I think that bringing the victims there, asking her to apologize, which should have been simple for her to do because they did screw that up. They leaked the names and then they went back and redacted it, but the damage was kind of already done, right? So the simple request of would you apologize to them, to me was a simple question. And I can't remember which congressman asked her that, but would you look back there and just apologize to them for leaking their information?
I could see his face because he went on a long diatribe too, but
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions. The witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the answer.
Time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she
question.
ask Merrick Garland this?
I am
Twice
reclaiming my time, and when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say this.
I'll direct it to
what
you.
a massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not
interrupted.
going to get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only to then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Ghislaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up, and I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level apologize
the chair now recognizes the chair
on what you have done.
Time of the gentlelady.
I yield back.
I can kind of see why she didn't do it, but it definitely left a sour taste in my mouth. The fact that she just could not do that one little simple thing because they know they did it. They know they did not redact those names.
But let me share something from my personal life. Again, this has nothing to do with politics, but when I used to not want to answer something because I knew I was in the wrong, and I would skirt the issue, it'd come back to bite me. when I owned up to something, I felt like the recovery from it was much quicker.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why, okay, owning up to it may end your political career, may end your career as the attorney general.
Right.
It may do that. But in the long run, as if you're not guilty of some kind of crime, if you just did something, they screwed up and you can apologize for it and get over with it, I think, in my personal opinion, the best way to go is to own up to it.
Own up to it. Sometimes you got to fall on your sword.
Yeah.
I have a philosophy when it comes to lying. I don't know if anybody else has said this. Don't quote me of plagiarism. I didn't steal it, but I consider, and I tell this to my kids too, I consider a lie is something that you have to feed, and the more you keep that lie going, the hungrier it's going to get, and you got to keep feeding that lie. So, and its taste for food changes from time to time. So if you think of that concept and you think of before you tell a lie, realize you may get away with it this time. But next time you got to feed it something different. Then you got to feed it something. Then you got to feed it in front of more people. Then you got to, and it's just going to be a continuous problem.
And if you do it enough, someone's going to find the recipe to what you're cooking.
Yes.
And they're going to call you out on it.
Yes.
It's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Bound to happen, definitely, for sure. But one thing I noticed about, the commentary to Bondi's coverage, the coverage of Bondi, is that on the Fox News, I was impressed that it was fairly neutral. They weren't like one-sided supporting her 100%. It was more like a limited and neutral coverage of that versus, CNN, who was, all over it as far as, she's wrong, she's horrible, she's, this is a fiasco. I said an embarrassment to the Justice Department, or some of the comments that CNN had made. Let's see, CNN segment anchors Aaron Burnett, visible disbelief and concern about Bondi's conduct, framing the exchanges as out of the ordinary and lacking seriousness. I don't know that that's not true. I mean, obviously we talked about her skirting the issue on some of the things, but it just goes, and I think, the end point, like you made earlier, is that we're not gonna get anything out of this.
No.
This is a political waste of time.
I think a lot of it is just basically, in my opinion anyway, I think a lot of it is just trying to pull voters, trying to get the sympathy votes.
Midterm elections
are coming up. And if you can demonize one party versus the other, then that's just one or two voters you may turn, and every voter is going to be important, right? So I think that's all it is, and it's, we were talking about this earlier, and this is not going to be popular comment for a lot of people, but again, the Democrats had all the Epstein information for 4 years, and not only that they didn't do anything, the Republicans didn't fight to try to get anything released. So for 4 years, those victims were just victims. That was it. There was no movement. There was nothing on it. And the moment that, the election starts, Trump name gets caught up on the, and then it's us versus them. And at that time, it was really just the Democrats pushing toward the Republicans. Trump's he's a pedophile. This is where he is with Epstein, and every, left favorable media outlet, no matter what they said about Epstein, it was always Trump's picture next to Epstein. They could talk about his suicide. They could talk about a plane. They could talk about a money deal. Yeah. And every picture shows Trump with Epstein. So I think it was a psychological way of pushing people to hate Trump. And now, when the files are getting ready to be released, Republicans are doing the same thing. It's the whole thing of, well, how come you guys didn't do anything for 4 years? Mm-hmm. But they missed the question of, how come you didn't do anything for 4 years? Right. How come you didn't push to get these files released, right? So, or get justice for those victims. So I think this whole thing is just, it is political theater, just to pull votes, to pull favoritism, to pit one side against the other, and the worst part of it, the victims are the ones that are completely overlooked.
And they're suffering because of that. And it's interesting. I was watching a commentary the other day, and it was one Trump supporter, one anti-Trump supporter, and they were talking about Trump's involvement in that, and could he possibly be involved in that? And of course, the one Trump supporter said no, and the other guy, all of a sudden, all he did was play Trump quotes. He played Trump saying Trump things. And it was like, well, he did say a lot of things, that, you could easily, route to someone who have a lower character than required.
Oh,
for
God,
it.
yes, yeah.
And so it's like, I don't think, I think anything's possible at this point. I've ruled nothing out as far as that he isn't or that he is.
Right.
Yeah,
I haven't
there's no.
I haven't either, and I would like to see proof, because I'm looking at it from a psychological.
Everybody would like to see proof.
Yeah, I need to see proof of either side. Just saying that, I'm going to go to the party. Elon saying, when's your wildest party going to be? Or even Hakeem Jeffries, like, hey, we want to have dinner with you. Looking for campaign contributions and things like that. That doesn't mean that they were there getting massages from these underage girls. So, I'm looking at that from both Democrat and Republican, and even our political leaders, across the seas. Just because, and I hate to see this from either side of the media. I don't think Fox does it. I know that CNN does it. I know BBC does it. I know that the first thing they say is that such and such was mentioned so many times on it. What does that mean? There's no context to saying that how many times someone's name came up.
Right.
I'm sure the janitor's probably in there. The pool guy's name is in there.
Could have been the janitor talking about Trump.
Right. Yeah. It could be anything.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I've gotten into pretty much heated debates with some friends about that. And they're like, well, he's mentioned, 3 million times. It's like, in what context?
Yeah.
Give me some context. And if you give me context where, the 12-year-old girl gave me, and then there was one about the eating of the baby. Have you heard that one?
I've heard the comments about it. Yeah.
Yeah, eating a baby. The other one where he had an illegitimate child and it was thrown into the Michigan River or something like that. And it's just like, I don't know. It's a lot. But at the end of the day,
it's like cooking spaghetti, man. You throw it on the wall and see what sticks. I think that's unfortunate that we have devolved into. And again, I don't think it's the general public that's devolving. I think it's the political scene.
The political leaders and the media. Because let's
but see, we used to think that they were separate.
No, I
but
think
they're tied hand in hand.
They're pretty much tied hand. Prime example, the pictures of Clinton with the redacted faces of whoever that was in the pool with him, right, and whatever. So right before that got released, what did we see? Picture of Trump with a number of girls that had their faces blocked out. Right before that picture was released, those were girls that were in his beauty contest. They were all adults. But why would that get released so widely in the media right before the pictures of Clinton with Ghislaine Maxwell and then Poole with somebody whose face? It just kind of makes me think, like, why the timing is always right there.
Each side is trying to ruin the other.
Each side is definitely trying to ruin the other.
Instead of working for us, instead of working for our benefit, and I know that I've said this before, you people out there that are highly invested in the stock market and have seen it go over 50,000 and you're bragging about how much money you have in the bank now and how good your 401k is and all this stuff. It comes down to you are a rare breed out there. There's a whole middle and lower part of America that is suffering because of inflation, suffering because of rising prices, and it's got nothing to do with their investment in the stock market.
Stock market, yeah. The stock market is, you can only make money in the stock market if you have money to put in it.
Yeah.
Really, right? So who is it benefiting? Is the rich people who are in the stock market. There's some people that,
And if you have information that helps you know what to buy.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true.
So,
if I knew right now that Trump silver bars were going to go through the roof, I'd be buying Trump silver bars.
Yeah.
If I had 100% knowledge that that's what was going to happen, heck yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
If I knew that some certain stock that's a penny stock now was going to be $40 a share in 2 years, I'd be buying that now.
Yeah. That's true.
And there are people out there that know this stuff.
That is true. There's people out there that definitely have insider information.
Mm-hmm. But I did like one thing that was it was a tech giant, not Elon Musk. It was another guy, and he was talking about how as far as investing goes, he doesn't care if he makes money or loses money. He invests in technology right now because technology is the fastest growing thing, and you're going to have more hits than misses.
Yeah.
Just a little side note.
Just a little side note. But back to Bondi. She was if you guys haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. I mean, you got to go back and watch it just for the political.
Evasive? Would you say evasive?
It was very evasive, and the word that comes to me is whataboutisms. You know, it's like, hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't. Oh, but what about this? You didn't say this, you didn't say that. You know, and
well, it's sort of like you were just saying earlier about, you know, hey, you had 4 years to do this. How come you didn't? Well, you had 4 years too.
You had 4 years too. Yeah. Why didn't you? Yeah. Why didn't either one of us do anything? But there was one that was they were talking to her, and I can't remember the congressman's name. Forgive me, but if you've watched it, you've seen it, you know who I'm talking about. She went on Pam Bondi. She got on Pam Bondi about file redactions and the 29 co-conspirators and why that page was successfully redacted, but the victims' names wasn't. And she actually gave Pam Bondi time to respond, and Pam Bondi goes, well, you didn't say anything about the contributions that you took from such and such, and it had nothing to do with the files.
Right.
Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades."
And she had, Pam Bondi was very prepared for what she was going to talk about. She had her paperwork all laid out. And I'm looking at some of her responses, and I'm like, well, these aren't even really Epstein related. These are personal, or these are attacks against specific members of Congress on the Democratic side that she had prepared statements for that were completely outside the realm of what she was being asked.
Right. In other words, these are, forget what you're asking me. Here's the skeletons in your closet.
Right. Here's the skeletons in your closet. Yeah, your sheets aren't clean either, and I'm going to let people know that your sheets aren't clean while I'm dancing around the answers, to the questions that you're asking.
Yeah. So, and again, that's sort of like, forget about me, what about you?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
What about isms? I don't know who told me that first, but I thought that was a pretty cool.
You like that?
I like
what
that.
About isms?
If it's not in the dictionary yet, it should be.
But there's, I guess C-SPAN is one of the ones that continually covers that kind of stuff as far as not main news organizations. Because I know a lot of the main news organizations don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that because, like you and I were saying, you're not getting a whole lot out of it.
You're not getting none out of it. Yeah.
That's why they get the sound bites. That's why they get this particular people. You might see them. In fact, I've seen more coverage on Facebook Reels of the hearings than I have on news.
And it really depends on where you hear it from. Because I purposely looked up Jasmine Crockett, Pam Bondi. If you search, you'll see one that says Jasmine Crockett destroys Pam Bondi. Right. You can also see Pam Bondi destroys Jasmine Crockett. It's the same conversation, right? So it's just like, wow, people hear what they want to hear.
Well, but again, too, that's also for clickbait.
Yes, yeah.
If you're on one side, you're going to click on the one that says, Jasmine Crockett, and then if you're on the Bondi side, you're going to the one that says, Bondi, destroys.
Yeah.
So again, it's all clickbait, and that's what I want to figure out for these two guys episodes. What's the clickbait that we can get people clicking on us? All right. Well, we opened the door on the Epstein investigation.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got to hit that search algorithm because I do fall down that little dark path from time to time.
The rabbit hole?
The rabbit hole, yes, of clicking on something and realizing, oh, man, what is this?
I've done that before, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's really funny. I used to watch, I wouldn't say a lot of Jordan Peterson, but I used to watch some Jordan Peterson every now and then. And when I would share that with some of my friends, I would get criticized very heavily, because of what they think of him. And so I started doing some research into what the comments I was hearing, and I realized, I could probably do without Peterson in my algorithm.
Yeah.
I mean, he says some good stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that he says that after I've heard it, I don't agree with. But anyway. So, we got millions of pages of documents, images, and video related to the investigation by the Department of Justice and FBI, albeit it is Trump's Department of Justice and Trump's FBI.
Right.
So you're going to have, I think, obviously we've seen their answers to stuff. You're going to see it lean a certain way.
Yeah.
But there's far more material than we knew of.
Right. And apparently there's still more.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's supposed to be some other 3 million documents apparently that's still out there.
And of course, the Congress, I guess certain committees are privy to ask for unredacted versions, right? In other words, if you're on a certain committee, if you're on this committee, you can go and see the unredacted versions of it. But nobody else is going to get to see that.
Right.
Nobody else is going to get to see that. And I'm not sure how much of they're going to see.
And that kind of gets me to it. And I don't know if I'm missing any of those conversations where Congress says, the part of the Epstein committee have seen documents that are unredacted and know there's a smoking gun, but not said anything about it. Like they don't have to tell you what's on the paper, but these documents are numbered, they're categorized, they're cataloged. A congressman can say, hey, what about this one particular document? We need to see that. Why can't we see this? Why can't we see the unredacted one? Without still spilling any real beans.
Right.
Right. But we're not seeing any of that. So, kind of makes me wonder, like, why aren't they doing it? I think here's my take on all of this. I think it's, what do you call it? What is that? What's the phrase? Mutually assured destruction? Right. Yeah. If I'm getting destroyed, you're going to get destroyed too. So I think that's a lot of the reason why we're not seeing the big push.
Well, and take this to heart too. Okay. Just let's look at the 3 million documents released. Mm-hmm. Okay. You have a congressman on the committee. You know how much of those 3 million documents that he's actually read through, or she's actually read through?
A couple dozen pages at max. Yeah.
So they have people working on it, and when the people that are working on it, who also may or may not have an agenda, say, oh, you need to read this, right? Mm. So they're getting spoon-fed the things that their own staff says is important.
It's important, yeah.
They're not, there's not a single person out there who has read all 3 million documents. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's possible.
Well,
and if they have a committee and you have 10 staffers working on it, and each staffer has a certain amount of things to go through there, unless you're Evelyn Woodhead's sped reading course, to quote Cheech and Chong, you're not going to get through all the documents.
No. And sadly, the folks that are out there, the citizens, they're not reading the documents. They're searching for specific people.
Yeah.
That's Pam Bondi got called out for that too. Apparently, they have the search algorithm that shows what's being searched the most, and obviously we know who's being searched the most. But no one's really looking for anything other than really that one name.
Well, they all want him to be guilty of something.
Oh, everybody wants him to be guilty of something.
And of course, and I'll say it's Trump. That's who they want. They want to be guilty of it.
Yeah.
They want to prove it. They need it. And the belief is right now, a lot of people believe that, yes, he is guilty of something. But there has been no real smoking gun that we are privy to.
No.
And if there is a smoking gun, I guarantee you nobody will ever see it.
No, if there's no smoking gun, I mean, if there's a smoking gun, it's gone. But it's still kind of, it just makes me wonder. So did no one look at this for the previous administration? Because if that smoking gun is there today, that means it was there, 2 years ago. It was there 2020 to 2024. Why did no one find it?
I'll tell you why. All right, I'm an advisor for Joe Biden right now, right? I'm like, Joe, there are people in your party that will come down hard on you if you release their names. Just let you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably under extreme pressure not to release stuff because of the money involved, the finances involved, the people that supported him. of the groups that are out there, of the names that were involved.
Because there's a lot more, almost a lot more Democrats that are popping up in there.
Somebody, I think it was Sean Ryan, said the other day on his podcast, he said, if all these names were released, the economy would come crashing to a halt.
Yeah, I think Pam Bondi said the same thing. I think she said it would crash the system if those 29 co-conspirators were actually all released.
Well, and it's not just the co-conspirators. It's, I mean, there's other names. There's more than 29 names in there.
Yeah. But the co-conspirators will be actually the only ones really, I think, that they can be found guilty of the actual act of, the sex thing, right? I don't know if the other names that are on there, again, that they're just mentioned, I don't know if those can be people that you can bring to justice for a business trip or having lunch with them.
Well, how about this thing with the Wasserman Talent Agency, where all these stars that are part of his group are leaving, like Dropkick Murphys and a bunch of these different people that were part of that group because the CEO was intricately involved in Epstein, and whether he was part of, the pedophile ring or the human trafficking, I'm not sure of, but it was enough information came out where all of a sudden artists that had been with him for decades are like, see ya.
Yeah. Well, some people are stepping down. We have the
stepping down. But wait, go ahead and finish. But stepping down is not enough.
No, stepping down definitely is not enough. But I think through the court of public opinion, they're already guilty. So I think that might be why some of them are stepping away because, I think the head of Google was like, I'm not stepping down. We only had lunch or whatever that deal was with Google. But it was somebody else who I just heard the name not too long ago who recently stepped down because they said it was for the best interest of the business, of the company.
Right. He didn't want his company to suffer.
Yeah, he didn't want his company to suffer. Whether if he did anything or not, he knew that in a court of public opinion, it's going to hit their stocks, it's going to hit their customers, it's going to hit their client base, and they're just going to lose everything. So stepping away was the best thing he can do for the company, guilty or not. So you do have people who will step away from their companies and their livelihood, companies they started from the ground up because they know that, again, their name is mentioned several times and they're already guilty in the court of public opinion. So
I don't know. Part of me is that, fly on the wall that wants to see it all, but then part of me doesn't want to see any of it.
You want to sleep at night. I don't think you'd want to see everything that's on there because, it's apparently some pretty bad stuff in there.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was no doubt a monster, and I think it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword. Like you want to see justice for these victims, at the same time, you expose one, you kind of really have to expose all, And I think that, like to your point, like you said with Biden, if we expose Trump, then that letter might lead to another letter, and that letter might lead to another letter to expose Clinton. Or that letter might need to lead to another letter, and that'll expose Woody Allen. So it's one of those things where the breadcrumbs are already there. You can't get rid of them, so you have to be careful in what you release. And that would explain why. The only logical thing I can think of is why Trump was never brought up during, because they threw everything at the guy. They threw everything at him. 34 felonies, and he still became a president. So the only thing that's left was a kitchen sink and Epstein. That was it. That was all that's left.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Woody Allen, and it's like you hear some names in the Epstein files, you go, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's like you see Woody Allen's name. Oh, yeah. Well, that figures.
Yeah. Well, next, give me another name. That one doesn't surprise me.
Well, and too, during this whole thing, that before Biden dropped out, everything, and actually when Biden was initially running, there was this whole Hunter Biden stuff, and that was going on. So they were fighting the battle there. They were trying to keep that under wraps.
The laptop that didn't exist.
Yeah. They were trying to keep that protected, trying to keep that information out of the public eye, and now you've got Hunter Biden going on shows like Sean Ryan's podcast, and talking about stuff. And,
the media does not, they really do justice for what their client base is. Like if you want that stuff, you're going to find it in media outlets. You're always going to find everything to fit your narrative and back your stories and your beliefs, right? So same thing with the Hunter Biden laptop. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And I mentioned to a friend of mine, I said, well, hey, so when they went after Trump with the hush money file, they initially went after him for election interference because he said that he didn't sleep with Stormy Daniels. during the debate, during the run, right? So it was election interference because he didn't want this information to come out. I said, but it's funny that Trump did not go after Biden for lying about making money off of China and the laptop, which he also said during a debate that didn't exist and that they didn't make any money. So I'm going to humanize him a little bit. I give him a little bit for not being completely vindictive, because they could actually go after him for election interference because he did the same thing that they tried to bring Trump for originally.
Right.
And then that went into a falsified documents and case with which gave him the 34 felonies.
But I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. If I say this, they can say this.
Right.
If I say this, they can say this.
Right.
So it's a point where it's okay. If you're in loss prevention in a company, you sit there and go, wow, there's a certain amount of things we got to let get away.
Yeah. There's acceptable loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's acceptable loss, acceptable amount of information out there
Shrinkage.
that we can don't talk about shrinkage. There's an acceptable amount of information that we can allow to come out that we can combat, whether it's true or not. We'll say something, to dumb it down or something like that. So.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, no, this whole thing is, again, I think it's just political theater. I don't see those girls getting really any justice. So there's a couple guys in there too, which is really the sad part. And unfortunately, I think that there's this herd mentality. There's this the angry village mob, right? People got their pitchforks and their torches.
They're looking for Frankenstein,
and they're looking for the monster,
yeah.
right? And but I think with the way the media spins things, are they looking for it for the right reasons? Are they looking for it for justice for the victims, or are they looking for it because they want to see certain people go to jail?
Right. Yeah. Yes, if someone goes to jail, that could mean justice for the victims. But, justice for the victims can also come about without so-and-so certain person going to jail.
Right.
Just
at the bare least, validate those victims. At least make them feel like they're not crazy and give them the support. I mean, that's what.
Well, they know they're not crazy.
They know they're not crazy. But I mean, if they're watching it, and I can only speak to myself, but and I've never been in their shoes, so I can't really do apples to apples comparison. But if I'm sitting there and I'm watching someone get away with crime. Ghislaine Maxwell, like moving her to that cushy prison or whatever. Like, part of me logically understands why they would do that, because sometimes you get more flies with honey than you can vinegar, right? And they need more information from her because she's the only surviving person that really knows the whole operations.
Well, that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Logically, I get it. I mean, because
but it also could be that she's going to talk if we don't put her in.
If we don't put her, yeah, that's the total flip side of that coin. But I can see that. Like giving her a puppy or whatever and stuff like that. I mean, she's not going anywhere. She's still in jail, but now she's living this cush life. And, and that's one of the things they brought out to Pam Bondi too, like trying to acknowledge why that happened, and yeah, it's a dirty thing. It's like, even when you see these crime dramas, right? And they pull a guy that just murdered his entire family and they put him in the question room and, hey, you want something to eat? What's your favorite food? McDonald's? We'll get McDonald's, and because you got to loosen people up in order to get them to talk. So that's the what the conservatives, I think, would like to believe is the reason why that's happening. And then the other side, like you said, is it because I mean, she did go on record already and said that Trump knew nothing, but she didn't say who did. So the other side could be, well, I'll drop these names if I don't get a support puppy, and and I need to have grounds to run my dog. So,
but then you also have the side that goes, well, she's a criminal, she's in their jail. How can you believe anything she says?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because if I were in that position, I would be like, what can I say that will get me an extra meal, or get me steak dinner tonight, or will get me, a root beer. Right. I mean, it'll just be about what can I do for me?
For me. Yeah. If I'm not going anywhere for the rest of my life, I might as well be comfortable.
Right.
Right. And what can I do to get that? Yeah. And I can totally see that too. And that's the thing about me, like trying to be objective. I try to see all angles of it. Right. And looking at why would they do that to her? Why would they give her this stuff? And the first thing, like I said, that came to mind was the fly scenario.
Right.
But then again, also the keep you quiet scenario.
Yeah.
But they can do that too. I mean, if you believe what happened with Epstein was,
well, here you go. Now
self-unaliving.
I was gonna ask you about that, because you mentioned that before we went on the podcast. about some information that came out on the autopsy.
Yeah. So Mike Epstein, the brother, right, Jeffrey Epstein, he had Dr. Michael Baden. You know who that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pathologist guy, super world famous, had his own TV show and everything. Did the OJ case. He did a bunch of famous cases. So apparently he was there during the autopsy, and which kind of gets me again because I'm always looking at the time frame.
Also, why is it just coming out now?
Why is it just coming out now? Well, I think the brother's the one that's pushing it because the brother's saying he did not unalive himself.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say the S word on YouTube, but
Oh, you're not? You can't say that?
no, not supposed to say that. That'll get you demonetized real quick.
Oh.
Yeah, so you're supposed to you can say
We're not
unalived.
monetized anyway.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be retroactive.
I
But
did not realize that.
yeah, he self unalived. He unalived himself. He says that didn't happen, and I think one of the pictures they show, because now they have the autopsy pictures out there that you can see. I don't know how you can see them all, where you can find them, but they're out there. And when they describe the way the body was, apparently his feet was out in front of him, his butt was elevated because you need weight in order to be able to strangle yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about physics and everything, if you're in an L position, and at the top of the L is where your ligature, is going to be, then it's got to go straight.
Right. What Larry's saying is that when the rope is around your neck and it goes up, then the striations are going to be here, following up behind your ear.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I mean the weight, right? Just basic, weight.
The only way they could be the way he was is if he was face down.
Right.
With his body perpendicular to the rope.
Right, because it was straight across.
Yeah, so right here they went straight across.
Yep.
Versus going up, which means he was likely unalived by somebody else.
Yeah. If anybody's ever seen those French
the knots, the
little thing they use with the rope and the two little sticks that they would use, not a guillotine.
What do they call those? Oh my goodness, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. I just had it in my name. It's a French name. But yeah, if you use one of those, or even just, that would make perfect sense why it's completely horizontal with this body. Mm-hmm. And apparently there were also fractures to his the
hyoid bone.
Yeah, the hyoid bone and the left and right bones on the side of that, which usually means crushing, not extending.
Well, yeah, and in order to crush, you would have to have a lot of force at one particular point in the hanging for that to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't like a big guy. I would think suffocation would be one thing, but I don't think it would. If anything, it'd probably damage one bone farther down and maybe damage or separate, other spinal bones, vertebrae.
Yeah,
up a little higher.
Not as likely in a jailhouse type hanging. The hangings when they used to do in this village square.
Yeah.
Now those would definitely mess up your vertebrae. Yeah.
But he was like it wasn't like he jumped off of something and did this. He had no place to hang anything and very little elevated spots in there that you could do that. So yeah, the pictures I've seen, again, I can't confirm the validity of those pictures, but if those are actual pictures, and yes, there's something foul, but why 7 years later are we just hearing this?
Because it's midterms. It's midterms, and then there's also the talk about, third term for presidency, which who knows what could happen with that.
Yeah, if that happens, I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter. I like I said, I do have more conservative values, and I do.
But you'd rather
values.
see someone with more common sense in there.
I want to see somebody with more common sense. I mean, I would. Again, not very popular. I think. To me, when I see a lot of Democrats saying certain things, it just seems like it's just a grasp of power. But they all have a grasp of power. They all just want to hold their power. That's what this whole congressional hearing is. Really, it's just that's what the midterms is. It's all a grasp for power. But so I would likely probably lean more towards a Republican or Democrat candidate just based on the way I feel about some of the Democrat candidates. But if Trump was to do something to get himself a third term, I would almost feel like I would want to vote for anybody other than him, just because. Well, if he tried to run for a third time, it probably wouldn't be a vote. It would probably just be a hostile takeover, right? Because
there's something happened yesterday. God forbid, I can't remember what it was. They were talking about how something had to go through Congress to do that, and Trump said he found a loophole where he can do it by executive order instead. And I'm like,
if there's martial law, if there's it's had to be a certain level of civil unrest where you can't have an election. So if we start seeing right before the 2028 election comes up and things just start getting really, really crazy in Bedlam, I would say, yes, that could definitely be a segue into him saying that, okay, well, because the whole country is completely in, a civil war or something's going on, then there's no election.
Well, and we're looking kind of that way with certain places now,
Definitely.
And again, like I always vote the person. And I wouldn't say who I would vote for, but I would like to see something like a Rand Paul and a Gavin DeGraw, in debate.
That's a singer.
Not Gavin DeGraw.
Not say Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom. That's what I was saying.
Really?
Yeah. No. No. Because I think I've listened to a lot of Rand Paul. Right.
I like Rand Paul,
and he makes some sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And while you don't like Gavin Newsom for whatever reasons you don't like, and I understand that.
I'll change
the guy is very well spoken.
He is. Rand Paul is very good. Yeah.
Well, they both are. They're both very well spoken, and I think I think more people would want to get out and vote if those two people were running against each other. I'm not saying that Gavin Newsom would be better.
Are you talking about the primary? You're talking about the primary?
No, because Rand Paul's a Republican.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry.
Rand Paul's a Republican. Gavin Newsom, Democrat. See them in the next election.
2028. No, I think Rand Paul's going to run though.
I don't know.
I don't think he's going to run. I don't know.
I certainly don't think these people that are joking, or maybe they're not joking about Jon Stewart or one of them run. You know what? Stay out of it. You're a better political commentator or comedian than you would be a president. Don't even think about it.
So what do you think about Kamala? Because she's talking about, she just turned her house into headquarters or whatever.
Okay, one thing we've learned about Kamala Harris is she can't win. I don't think she can win.
No, she definitely shouldn't win. But yeah.
Now Michelle, I don't know if she could win or not, but I guarantee you she'd have a nice following.
She would definitely be a threat to the Republicans if Michelle Obama ran. But then you're looking at the hypocrisy of saying that someone's qualified versus somebody who's not qualified. She's never heard of public office before.
Well, we had a president for 8 years. We'll have had a president for 8 years.
But remember, the part of the always concern was that he had no experience before. And that was one of the biggest things that most people said. And then
but she did spend 8 years in the White House. She did spend 8 years in public policy during this time.
She did.
She saw the inner workings of it. And the biggest thing, just like George W. Bush was, George W. Bush was, is that it's who you pick to advise you that makes how good your presidency is.
That is true.
It's the people you put behind you. It's the people you trust that make. Now, here's the thing. It was in the Trump administration, it's the other way around, right? President Trump, I don't think, trusts anybody that he's got in there because he's really quick to move them if they don't do what he wants.
Right. So was that? Well, I think that's.
I mean, Bannon was in and out. He trusted Bannon for a while. When Bannon said something he didn't like, Bannon was gone.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. In other words, all right, I'm going to put myself around qualified people that can help me do the job. George W. Bush was very good at that. All right. Donald Trump says, I'm going to put people around me that will do what I say.
Who are loyal to me.
Yes. That's the difference between the success. He would have had, Donald Trump would have been probably an extremely successful, well-liked president if he had picked qualified people to run the departments that were there and to be his advisors.
I look at the first term where just everybody who left, everybody who was there basically wrote books about him. So he had a lot of people that
he went, oh my goodness,
yeah, so I can, and again, this is the logical side.
That's kind of Trump's fault, though.
That is all his fault.
Yeah.
No, he definitely, but it's just like, I can see why. Not saying I'm justifying why they're there, but I can see why he's picking people who are loyal to him because
the last time didn't work so well.
No, I think he still have knives back there. He's trying to pull out.
Yeah.
But Gavin.
But then you got. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm gonna do my research on Gavin Newsom, and I'm gonna come up with reasons why he would be better than what we have now.
I still look at the train that was started in 2013, right? They haven't laid tracks.
Well, that's stupid. Here's one thing they learned in Florida. Florida did that high speed train. In fact, I think it's the same company that was doing it in California, right? There was so much trouble getting it through to where they needed to go through because they needed to move neighborhoods, they needed to move businesses, and California's not going to stand for that.
No, but
13
years though, and it's like they haven't even laid down any metal tracks, and I don't think they're gonna. No, and then the $400 million for the fire aid victims, like that money's missing. No comment on that. The cleaning up of San Francisco for China to come there, getting all the poop off the street, relocating the homeless while they were there, and then as soon as they leave, they just let them come right back. Like some of his policies are just, trying to explain the taxes on the gas, where he was being asked in interviews, like, why is California typically like $1 more gas tax? And he's like, well, they're ripping us off, but he would never say who they were.
Well, and there's a lot of money in California.
There's a lot of money,
and you know what? And if they would justify the taxes to the right people, I think they wouldn't be in as bad a shape as they're in.
I look at leadership. I mean, there's a lot of money.
Well, yeah, certainly leadership, but leadership has to say, you know what? We need a way to make this solvent.
Yeah.
How are we going to do that? It's not by taxing the people to death.
Well, they already taxed to death.
That's what I'm saying.
They already taxed to death.
That's not the way to do it.
There's those things about him. It's just not turning into a Newsom bashing thing, but I have such a disdain for that guy. Now, I would never say vote party versus over the people.
But you would take anybody over Gavin Newsom.
I would take a rock over Gavin Newsom. That guy is just, the whole French Laundry thing where people, I've known people who actually got arrested during COVID for being outside. And this guy's at the French Laundry. Yeah. Right?
That's kind of stupid.
But that's his character. He's just, he tries to lie to that.
Nancy Pelosi was at the laundry too, wasn't she?
Yeah. Well, his auntie.
Yeah,
and it's like when the lady was sitting there coming up to him, pleading with him, talk to the president about getting aid. And he's like, I'm on the phone with them right now. And he's like, I'm talking to him. And he holds his phone up. He's not on the phone with anybody. It's just like, why would you lie to your constituents? And he right in front of their face. It's just, that guy, man. Character-wise, I think that, maybe the way he does certain things, I think that he's very interesting. He's a very interesting politician. I have not seen a post from him within the last 2 months that doesn't have the word Trump in it. Like everything is basically bashing Trump, which is create better policy, stop bashing, which is part of the problem with a lot of the Democrats. A lot of people are leaving because they're seeing, show me a better policy rather than trying to teach me to hate someone.
Right.
And Gavin Newsom he went from being policy driven, from what I saw, to basically now being that guy to just like post to hate.
Well, and and again, and I'm not defending Gavin Newsom at all, but he's got a few reasons to be going after Trump.
Oh yeah, a lot of personal reasons.
Let's go rake the forest. For crying out loud.
Yeah,
we need to rake the forest. That's what keeps the wildfires down. So there is although the idea of raking the forest is not a dumb idea, but the idea of giving people rakes to rake the forest, that's a dumb idea. No. But you really could go get the underbrush out of there, and you could solve a lot of the problems you're having. So in that I agree with. But and again, I'm not saying I would vote for Gavin Newsom. I'm not.
It'll be an interesting race.
But it would be an interesting race with him and Rand Paul. Yeah. And I know you hate him, but I encourage you to go watch his interview with Sean Ryan. Now, Sean Ryan is not a Gavin Newsom supporter.
Right.
He is more conservative, more, foundation in what's the one? It's not far left, far right. What's the moderate or conservative one?
Or,
libertarian.
Libertarian. Okay.
Libertarian. So I encourage you just to watch that and just to watch the interaction between them, because I'm not saying you'll like him after that, but I'm saying I think you'll see why I thought maybe not a bad idea to put him in that position.
I remember he was my mayor too at one point in time. So I have a long history with that guy.
Well,
in San Francisco. So yeah, even back then, before I even knew anything about politics, I just realized that things were just not as great.
We did have another governor from California that became president.
Yeah. I mean,
and I really think Schwarzenegger would have made a good one, but he wasn't born in America.
He wasn't born in America. Yeah, I think Schwarzenegger would have. He's very level-headed and even killed it. But yeah, ooh, man, that would be really scary to have the United States become California, I think. I mean, look at certain things. Registration, what do we pay here every 2 years for our cars?
I think I paid $149.
$149. I had 2 cars. I had a car, SUV, and a motorcycle. My motorcycle was $280 a year. My BMW was $380 a year. My Yukon, which is 2001, that was $240 a year for registration.
A year, not every 2 years.
Every year. And they all had to be, well, the motorcycle didn't have to be smogged, but the cars had to be smogged. And you go through this whole tire inspection. I remember in the earlier days when a smog inspection was like $19.99, Then it went to $24 and it was like pass or don't pay. I think now they're like almost $200 now for a smog check, because all the requirements and everything you have to go through in order to be able to pass is ridiculous. And I get it. They want to take cars off the road. And then he has the...
Portland's kind of the same way too, though. Portland, you have to have smog.
Portland? Really? In Oregon?
Yeah.
I thought statewide was smog. Is it?
You don't have to do it here.
Huh?
You don't do smog here.
No, I have to do smog here. I didn't know you had to do smogs in Portland.
Oh yeah. I had my car when I was living up there. I had to have my car tested to go through the thing.
Now, is that a normal thing, or is that like a gross polluter type of deal?
What do you mean gross polluter?
Because some cars, if they smoke or whatever.
No, this was anything. I think at the time, anything newer than 1980 had to go through.
Had to be smogged. Wow.
Yeah.
But
that's in Washington, Clackamas. Up in
so it's more county or city.
Yeah, but it's Portland metro area. Portland, yeah.
That is weird. I did not know that. I thought it was a state thing. But yeah, no. I'm just trying to phantom that guy running the entire country like he runs California.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, Bill Clinton was a governor, right? Who else was a governor that was president? Bush.
Obama wasn't a governor. Who was he? What was Obama?
No, he was just a representative.
He was representative, right?
Yeah, but Bush was a governor. From friends that I know, wasn't a very good one, but I'm not saying, that was coming from a very left-leaning person who liked the previous governor. Reagan was a governor.
Reagan was a governor.
Yeah.
So no, there's governors that I'm pretty sure there's governors that can make.
Was Jimmy Carter
president.
the governor at one point?
I think so.
Georgia? He might have been.
I think he was a governor of Georgia, and then his brother became governor. Right?
I don't remember that.
Was it Billy Carter?
No, Billy Carter. No.
Billy Beer?
Yeah, Billy Beer.
Yeah.
He never
became governor?
I don't think he became governor. I might be wrong on that. But the last thing I remember him, he was peeing on the side of a building and got arrested for it.
He ran a peanut farm or something like that, didn't he?
No, Jimmy ran the peanut farm.
Ran the peanut farm? Oh, God, I remember the peanut farm. I didn't remember who ran it.
Yeah, it was Jimmy. Well, look, I think we're at a good stopping point. I think we kind of exhausted some of this.
We went around.
We did go around, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, one thing always feeds into something else. So it definitely is. The conversations are always fun. I like them. But yeah, and plus we're working on a new format too, where we can bring you guys.
Yeah, we want to bring you more like small snippets of stuff that we can throw in there. In fact, I think our beginning before we started the podcast here, we'll probably throw that up online and get that going. But we just want you folks to know that we are open and receptive to topics you want to explore and stuff like that. I mean, we're kind of been stuck on this for a while, but I really like entertainment. I'd like to get back to doing some entertainment stuff and stuff like that. But unfortunately, things keep popping up that don't allow us to get there.
No, and until the Epstein thing goes to rest, which I don't think is going to.
Maybe not even in our lifetime. You never know.
Probably not. And then, the Minnesota thing kind of died down once the collaboration occurred, which, again, I'm going to toot my own horn, but you can see that it's a little easier once you collaborate, and they would have been in and out of there a long time ago if they had did this earlier.
Well, and again, we have differences of opinion on that one.
Yeah. I mean, again, I look at the 3,000 counties that are not having this issue. So it seems to be pretty.
Well, and like, okay, you got me started. I'm gonna touch on this real quickly. In Florence, our local police do not help ICE corral criminals.
Right, they're not supposed to.
They're not allowed to. By law, by state law, they're not allowed to. However, that does not mean that our local police don't want violent criminals off the street.
Right.
Right?
But
they also will not impede ICE if ICE comes with a legal warrant.
Right.
They're not going to do that.
Right.
And the idea is that, ICE needs to bring the people in. They need to execute the warrant, take the person out, and take them out of there.
Right.
Unfortunately, something blew up in Minneapolis where it was like, oh, you've got a lot of violent criminals here. And out of 4,000, 5% were. So,
right.
It's a lot of power struggle at this point. The governor could have been a whole lot better at saying, hey, our laws will not allow us to help you, but we will not hinder you from doing this.
Right.
And we will get the message out that you're doing your job. I don't think they would have need to bring 3,000 people into Minneapolis if they'd been going house to house serving their warrants.
Well, they need their own crowd control because the police doesn't have to help.
No,
ICE.
they need their own crowd control because of all the protesters.
Right, and the local police wouldn't help.
What I'm saying is, if I've got a warrant in my hand, right, I guarantee you there's a situation in Portland right now or in Sacramento or somewhere where police have a warrant for somebody.
Right.
And they're going to go and serve that warrant. They're going to arrest that person and take them in.
Right.
Without any crowd anywhere
right, no
around.
Crowd, right. No pushback, right.
So that it is possible for them to come in there, maybe you don't have the tan sand-colored ICE outfits. Maybe it's guys in suits and ties. Maybe it's, something else where they don't look like they're, and they just go in, they arrest the person, they take them out. I don't think it's that difficult, to be honest with you. But
no. But it's
I think they've created their own, the situation was created perfectly for that storm. It was the way the governor and the mayor reacted. Right. And the way the certain members of the ICE agents were overzealous
in jobs, yeah.
And that's what caused one thing piled on top of the other, and that's what caused the increased presence of protesters. I don't think you would have had that had they come in there quietly and done their job.
But see, they can't come in quietly because everybody wanted them unmasked and they wanted them marked. That was the other argument.
Yeah, but like I said, you know what? You got police. Police are not masked. FBI agents are not masked. So why mask ICE?
Because they get doxxed and people figure out who they are and they figure out where their families are and.
Right. But why are they doing that? Not because they're arresting violent criminals.
I think they do that because of its hive mentality. I think people.
It could be that.
It's they just want these protesters blame ICE for the job they're doing that they've been doing since 2003. Now it's a problem, right? It wasn't a problem all that whole entire time. Once you label them Gestapo and Nazis, and people sometimes just take all that to heart. Now they're Gestapo and Nazis, and they want them to be just like you would if you found that there were some people in the SS that are now in Argentina. You want to know who they are, right? They'll get doxxed too if they're alive today. So I think that's the thing. I think that's the people are. I noticed that if you say one thing to one person and they share it to 10 other people, it becomes fact. Yeah. It becomes the directive, and I think doxing those guys.
But I also think they're getting doxed because of the way they were introduced into the way they were introduced by the Trump administration. They were we're going to go get the worst of the worst, and we don't care about collateral damage.
Yeah.
And I think it's the way it was all handled from the beginning. I think I can't help but believe that personally, that if it was handled properly, there wouldn't be people out there wanting to dox these people because they would have done it the right way.
And see, I can see that too, but there's
too late.
There's 3,000 other counties that are not having these. The issues that we have, the top 9 counties are all sanctuary cities. The top 9 counties are all sanctuary, and these are the people who are going to push the hardest. And these are where the Democratic leaders are telling people that, the stories of vans pulling up to families and putting hoods over their faces and pulling them into the van and then dropping them off in some other country. Like, people believe that actually happens exactly that way.
No, they don't usually put hoods over there.
They don't put hoods, no.
But some of them end up in San Salvador that aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, but we have not had one actual American citizen detained. Yes, they might be detained for a little bit of time, but we've not had one American citizen that has been detained, deported, and ended up in El Salvador. But
I challenge you to go back and watch the 60-minute piece on that, because I do believe there's at least one.
There was the one guy who was the
not the one that came back and they're trying to get him out of here again. It's a different guy.
There was the military guy.
That served in our military.
That served in the military. Now, people call him American, so he was not an American citizen, even though he served. He self-deported, and I've gone through this with many people. Oh yeah, no, he got deported. He didn't get he deported. He self-deported.
Yeah, but this is not the guy from 60 Minutes. So I just encourage you to watch it just to see.
And there's an actual American-born citizen that got deported.
No, naturalized citizen.
Naturalized citizen.
But still, that's a citizen.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah.
And again, the thing about the sanctuary cities, I agree with you on that. The sanctuary cities have become, in a lot of people's minds, no matter who the person is, we want to protect them.
Right.
And that can't be.
Right.
A sanctuary city is for, I think should be for people that are seeking asylum,
right.
People that are hardworking, non-criminals that do have a path somewhere to citizenship.
Right.
All right. But they may not have it yet.
No.
But violent criminals, no.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Sanctuary cities should not protect violent criminals.
And they do a blanket protection. It's like when they had the MS-13s take over that entire building in, I think that was also in Minnesota, wasn't it?
I don't know.
They took over the entire buildings, and then J.D. Vance was talking to, what's her name, on 60 Minutes, and she goes, well, it's only been a few buildings. And J.D. Vance was like, do you hear yourself? Like, just a few buildings. Like, what is the limit? Where do you draw the line on people, getting kicked out of their...
See, I don't know that story either about the MS-13.
Yeah, they took over an entire building. There was one video where they actually showed the guys come and kick in the door, and they all had guns and everything. Not even all those guys had masks. That was like the huge video, and then some independent people went there like long after everything had been cleared out and the buildings had been boarded up and everything. But they were taking over certain apartment buildings. And of course, that was probably exaggerated too. They probably weren't taking over. They probably were living there.
Yeah.
There's a presence.
And again, that's one of those things where it's like, well, okay, how much of it do you believe? How much of it is, unbelievable? And again, there's always usually some truth in every story.
In every story, yeah. So it's about 15% truth in every lie.
At least,
yeah.
Hopefully more than that. But anyway, I encourage you to watch, because I don't have a problem with them, and I've said this before. I don't have a problem with them getting violent criminals off the street. Right. And again, I was watching the one interaction there where they're talking about, immigration, well, they're illegal immigrants. They're 100% illegal immigrants. They all need to go. Okay. Yeah, I understand your point of view. But if the goal is to get the worst of the worst off the street, get the worst of the worst off the street. Hey, thanks.
Yeah. No.
The end.
The end.
But anyway, hey, if you made it to the end, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, get our merchandise, get something to wear around in public. One of these two guys' shirts or something like that, or get a water jug or something like that. Something you can put in your cabinet and look at from time to time.
And they are conversation starters, because I can't tell you how many times people will come up to me and ask me about this sweater, and they'll look at me and go, wait, is that you?
I do that too, yeah.
Yeah, if you like conversation starters, I'm telling you, this is.
Of course, they won't ask you unless you look like one of us.
Yeah, if you look like, yeah,
but they might ask you, what's that shirt all about?
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of people come and ask me. I've had people. I went to the store. It was Ace. No, it wasn't Ace Harbor. Where did I go? Bi-Mart. I was at Bi-Mart.
Yeah.
And the lady behind the counter looks at it and she goes, "Oh, what is that?" And I explained to her it's a podcast. And she gets a pen and she actually writes down the website.
Oh, we got a new listener.
We got a new viewer. Yeah, right there. Just like, it's like, oh, she loved the way the sweater looked. And it's
Cool.
like, you know.
Buy one.
Yeah, and if you're watching this, if you did get, because you would know who I am, yeah, buy one. We have pink.
Do we? Yeah, we have all sorts
pink.
of colors on that. So just go to our website, these2guys.com. Hey, thanks again. We had fun. I had fun. Did you have fun?
I always have fun.
I had fun too. So
Yeah. This
hey,
guy is fun.
This guy's fun. Is that right? Do it. Yeah.
Am I pointing?
Yeah, you're pointing in the right direction.
Okay.
I'll make sure it looks right.
All right.
All right. Hey, take care.
Peace out.
It's these two guys. These two guys. It's these two guys.